If you're shopping while working, eating, or even listening to this podcast, then you know and love the thrill of a deal. But are you getting the deal and cash back? Rakuten shoppers do. They get the brands they love, savings, and cash back. And you can get it too. Start getting cash back at your favorite stores like Levi's, Plow and Hearth, Adidas, Sephora, and Neiman Marcus. Stack sales on top of cash back and feel what it's like to know you're maximizing the savings. And it's easy to use. And you get your cash back sent to you through PayPal or check. The idea is simple. Stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers, and Rakuten shares the money with you as cash back. Download the free Rakuten app or go to Rakuten.com to start saving today. It's the most rewarding way to shop. That's Rakuten. Rakuten.com.
Lowe's knows that no matter your paint project, saving is at the top of your list. That's why when you shop today, you can buy one, get one free select Valspar and HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams one-coat coverage interior paints via rebate. Shop these deals in-store or online today at Lowe's. We help, you save. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. Offer valid 8/21 through 9/3.
Hi, this is Steve Sansweet, President and Chief Executive of Rancho Obi-Wan, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
You can rest there.
As a prisoner.
As a hero. You need to see the place you helped build. You need to tell them what you told us.
Tell me why, whenever I'm being scolded for troubling you, I'm reminded the rebellion is bigger than all of us. And yet, when you feel inconvenienced, all I hear is how small and how fragile.
The man you do not like is here.
Excuse us, droid.
Sleep well?
No.
Ever sleep well?
No.
Jedha, Kyber crystal, and ISB ball, and Luthen dying to get us in motion. Now Tivik keeps calling us. If this is all a trap, it's a brilliant way to spring it.
This is Vanessa Marshall, Harrison Dula from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi, your family-friendly, spoiler-free Star Wars podcast where intelligent conversation and a splash of humor bring fans together from across the galaxy. I'm your host, Dan Zare, educator and Star Wars author. Whether you're a lifelong Jedi Master or just hopped off your first Star Cruiser, grab your calf and join us as we explore the mythology, philosophy, and wonder of a galaxy far, far away, one conversation at a time. Coffee with Kenobi is more than a podcast. It's a community. Together we celebrate the people, stories, and experiences that make Star Wars so special, creating a space where fans can come together and share their voices. Thank you to the official travel partner of CWK, MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel. Check out coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel for a no cost, no obligation quote, and let them know Coffee with Kenobi and Dan Zare sent you. It's one of the very best ways to support me and get the incredible peace of mind you want and deserve on your next vacation experience. We've got a great show for you today. We finally look at the final episode of Season 2 of Andor. In fact, it's the final episode of the series. We've got Father Jimmy and Ross Hollebon with us to break it all down for you. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite mug, and let's have Coffee with Kenobi. Hello, friends. We are back. It is Coffee with Kenobi. I'm your host, Dan Zare, and we are finally here at the season and series finale of Andor with the 12th episode. The episode is titled Jedha, Kyber, Erso. And I'm bringing the band back together from last week. These two joined me last week. The response was terrific. It was a great conversation. Really, every conversation I've had about Season 2 of Andor has been fabulous. But I'm very happy to have Ross Hollebon and Father Jimmy back. Ross, welcome back to the show yet again. See, I didn't take as long this time to reach out.
Yeah, this is fun, and Father Jimmy and I getting to talk some football before we get going. That's fun as well, and it feels good talking to you all, especially after going through some of the elements of this episode that we'll get into and talk. And it's also congrats on your Bears shirt there, and let's see what Caleb can do in year 2.
I'm on the season ticket wait list, and I just got my free Chicago Bears calendar from the team, and I'm very excited to put it in my classroom tomorrow. But you didn't come here to listen to that. You came to hear Ross and Father Jimmy. Father Jimmy, welcome back.
Excited to be back. Thank you for having me again. I always feel like I get so much out of these conversations, and these conversations make me want to go back and rewatch it again to pick up on all the things that you've brought up that I missed during my first several viewings.
Awesome. Well, though, look, as I said, this is the finale. We have gone out of our way to really make this a feast. This is a banquet. Andor is a banquet. We weren't in a hurry. This isn't fast food. This is a full main course meal that we wanted to savor, and savor we have. But we got to give our one word and break down the things that really moved us in this episode. So, Ross, give me one word and overall reactions to Jedha, Kyber, Erso.
I'm going to use the word conflict. It's not only the beginning of the end. So like I'm conflicted in terms of being excited. I remember turning it on for the first time and just feeling like, I expect this is going to be incredible, but I'm really sad it's over. But what a journey. But then even within this, the conflict between characters, inside a single character's head of things they have to go through, I think that theme really comes through a lot of this, and it is from all of that conflict that hope eventually grows from.
I like that. Yeah, and it is not easily earned either, but which of course is a very prevalent theme. Father Jimmy, what about you? What one word and sort of overall reactions to this?
Yes, I did a lot of searching to come up with a good word for this episode, but I finally settled on liminal, like Liminal, being at the threshold of something. And I really felt this episode did well at wrapping up everything from the series, but still being a good launching point going into Rogue One. A lot of what the characters are going through really felt like a transition point. But at a transition point that it didn't leave us hanging. We know what's coming next, and it made me excited for what's coming next, even though I already know what's going to happen. So that was the feeling that I had throughout this episode. And I, as well, there was the first time I saw it, there was a bit of gravity to it because you knew this great series was coming to an end. And there's just an excitement about how they were going to stick the landing.
And stick it they did. You no one has ever used the word liminal in all the years of Coffee with Kenobi, so that's cool. That's cool. I love that. I'm not going to be able to top either of your original opening statements, but my word will be methodical. This is a methodical, sort of a overt manifestation of everything that it has been building towards. We as an audience know where it's going. We don't know how it's going to get there, which Star Wars, I think, excels at that through its many different stories that it has told to us over the decades. It's a very methodical transition for Cassian to get to where he is. And it's also very much the pacing of this final episode as well, which I hope that we will take a look at. Father Jimmy, why don't we start with you? Where would you like to steer our conversation first?
I'd just like to get all of your thoughts on that. The opening sequence where that picks right up from where the previous episode left off, and kind of Andor and Clea and Melshi getting rescued by K2, and they're kind of busting out and kind of finally getting out of that situation. It was a good intense moment. It was very tense. It was very brutal. That was almost a word that I used to describe it. Just you see kind of the Bastion Imperial, not a Bastion Stormtrooper helmet, but the head, and you see K2SO using the ISB agent as a shield, and it was a very brutal rescue, and it just was reminding me of how brutal parts of this series have been, and how brutal it must have been for those in rebellion, and brutal from the side of the Imperials.
Ross, I'm interested in what you think about this, because as I said last week, you're the biggest K2 fan I know. The opening sequence is certainly a spotlight for K2SO, but what are your thoughts on that opening?
Yeah, I think he gets a hero moment, and K2 gets that hero moment coming through. That's where conflict jumped out at me right away, because Andor's still trying to convince Kleya to leave with them. So that's right off the bat. And then as soon as they decide that's going to happen, they face the conflict of these ISB agents coming in. And it's like, how are they going to get out of this? And we know K2 is there. And then they start cutting away, and you're getting him taking out one guard, a second guard, going up an elevator. And then when he gets out of that lift and is coming through, and it also says level 27, I know I got a little giddy when it started, and it turned very violent, but it was K2 like that security droid does. He's just like, I'm going in and taking care of all of this. It was sharp. And then, he comes in and, hey guys, I cleared a path. We can go. So he's that basic with it. And they've sustained injuries, and Kleya's being carried at that point. So it was heroic, and it was very desperate. And K2 got another hero moment there. So I was thrilled by it.
I'm here on the job site with Dale, who's a framing contractor.
Hey, good morning.
Dale traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for all his business vehicles. We're here where he needs us most.
Yep, they sure are.
We make it easy for him to save on all his insurance needs, all in one place, with coverage that fits his business and bottom line. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
It's all right.
We're so far up here.
Look at me. Take a deep breath.
Oh, I'm good. So good.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. Get more with Geico.
This is really the only action scene. It is the only action scene in the episode. We've gotten a lot of action throughout the series, but this one, it's almost like we get that. It's not that we get it out of the way first, because that's not the point, but we did need, if K2SO is going to come back, you want to see that, especially when we see the Gorman massacre and there are all those Imperial security droids out there, and we know what they are capable of, and we'd never seen it on a scale of that magnitude. Mm-hmm. So now that we have K2 under the control of Cassian, and it very much is control, there's a different dynamic. He does get his hero moment. It is pretty ghastly, especially that ISB agent who was such a thorn in Daedra's side, and he is being used as a shield, and he's moving his corpse in the way. When we've already seen that K2's armor can withstand blaster fire, but he does that, and it's just very haunting. It also shows the fruitless nature of evil. What was his point? He wanted glory. He wanted his own, comeuppance through the Imperial ranks. He wanted to be thought of very highly. And at the end, he becomes cannon fodder. He becomes like a trinket for violence. And it's notable. There's a karmic element of it, if you want to take that direction. But there's also no pleasure in it. And I think what Andor continues to do better than a lot of action series or action stories is show that violence isn't cool. Like, there's no myth of redemptive violence here. This is terrible. It's tragic. It's violent. People die. And there's never like a hero rah-rah moment that someone has died. And I think that is something that we should really be taking a look at and really applauding, because it really makes you think Because I really, at its core, Andor isn't really about this guy that helps find the plans to the Death Star. It's really about a guy who's struggling with trauma, struggling with finding a place to belong, and then finding something that is worth fighting for in very different ways. And it really just, I think this is why I like the show so much.
Yeah. And I again, that goes back to the conflict. It is all, they all face it with almost every decision they make. And that is, do I walk away from this? Do I get involved in this? And there is seemingly a time and a place for all of that. But during the heat of the moment, you don't really know. So it is fun to watch how different people navigate it, and they all face those tough decisions. And with whether it's karma or just, final results coming through, it has ending effects for a lot of people.
Right. And he was not a character. His name is escaping me now. But he is not a character that
Hirt.
Was it?
Supervisor Hirt.
Oh, Hirt. Yes. Oh, yes. Is it H-E-R-T?
H-E-E-R-t.
Hirt. He's not a character that had any redeeming qualities at all. So it's interesting. I have a follow-up on that, but I'm going to save it because it might lead into my next one. Ross, what's yours? What's your first topic you'd like to bring up?
And I'm going to save the final walk probably until the end here, because that's the thing to talk about. But with the conflicts, and this allows us, I think, to jump a lot of different places, are the relationships and the interpersonal one-to-one conversations that become so critical in this episode. So we have Cassian and Kleya, Mothma and Vel, Cassian and Wilnon, Vel and Cassian, Vel and Kleya, Draven and Cassian, and Bail Organa and Cassian. All of those individuals speak to each other one-on-one at some point during this episode. And it's about, to me, it's building that hope. And it is, Mon Mothma probably says it the best to Vel. She wants to believe Andor. Give me a reason to believe. And that reason to believe, I'm going to turn into hope there. As that gets latched onto, that's when the momentum starts building into what we know this is going to become as well. So I think it's really special to see all of those, and some people who have been on the same page since day one, some people who just earlier in the season we saw kind of snipping back and forth at each other, and now they're helping each other in a rainstorm after being brought to Yavin and, being told by one person you're going to be a hero, and to everyone else it's just like, oh, she's Luthen's person. So those elements, just every one of them, as I just watched it closer and closer, just meant more and more to me, and what the storytelling is and the personal growth and evolution of so many of the characters.
I love that. And there's even that wonderful rainstorm that you brought up. It's a very transformative thing, because I feel like that's the moment where everybody comes together. Mon Mothma and Bail, although he's much slower in the process, from the Senate. You've got the OGs from Cassian and his past. You've got Kleya and her connection to Luthen, and they all bring it together. And I feel like this is the moment, this is the episode where the rebellion is fully cemented within itself. Like, the factions are done. Symbolically and literally, they've all been brought together. And I think it's so beautiful that they use that with this violent rainstorm, because it was a violent storm of insanity to get everybody together. Many people die. There's so much betrayal and infighting and jealousy and humanity through it all. And I love that they show it constantly as, look, this isn't easy. Fighting for what you believe in isn't easy. To try to find that freedom and be able to be your true self in a place where you can feel safe and secure, that can be a challenge unless you've got the right guiding light. And certainly they're trying to let it make us think, at least in this series, that it's Cassian, especially as he acknowledges that Force healer when he walks by. And it's pretty neat to bring that kind of triangle together into one mighty rebellion on Yavin. Because Clea, as we probably remember, she's like, Yavin? But I think she was afraid that they were going to treat her like some sort of a criminal, like a war criminal.
Right.
But that didn't happen.
Yeah. And I one more kind of quick addition, and I think how all of those work. It's the news of Luthen's death.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what anyone thought about him, it hit everyone hard, and they needed a moment to compose themselves, whether they agreed with him, didn't agree with him. That became the thing. And it was those 2 words or 3 words, Luthen's dead. And you just read the reaction of everyone. And that a lot of that happens in those one-on-ones that I think builds off of that as well.
And part of it is, I think, the sadness, because they know, I mean, I think Cassian talks about how it consumed him, or how it basically destroyed the person and made him into who he was. But I also think there's this part of them that's like, this is the death of the mentor moment, where he is the mentor of the rebellion, and without him, what are we going to do? And that's why there's a little bit of chaos and confusion, especially in that meeting area. But then it all comes together. Father Jimmy, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, it's also interesting, as you guys were talking about, how it comes out through all these one-on-one conversations. And so the audience, we are reliving this each time. We are being reminded every time as well that Luthen is dead, and seeing the multifaceted character that he was. We're getting some kind of a deeper understanding of his character, even though he's been dead for a few episodes now. But because we're seeing the relationship he had to so many people, some positive, some not positive, many conflicted. But I thought that it was a very interesting that we got to relive it as the audience several times in a row, whereas it could have just called everyone on Yavin together and made a big announcement to a big group of people, and I think that would not have been a good way to go.
No, probably not. Go ahead, Russ.
And there was a special moment between Vel and Cassian, where I guess Vel doesn't really drink anymore, and Cassian's like, "Hey, will you do one for him?" And then he says, "We can't toast them all, can we?" And then Vel comes back, agreeing to take the drink and hold it up, and they say, "Gorn, Nemec, Tamarin, Cinta, the Gormans, Ferrix." She says, "Your mother, the Donnies." He closes with Aldani, and then they toast. And that's beautiful that they get that moment. They've been there through the whole time. And he talks about someone saying, "Yeah, I've heard so many people say they were there when it happened." And she's like, "I would shoot them if I heard someone say that."
And he says, "I believe you would."
Yeah. But they get that moment. And, he was thrust upon her by Luthen. And it saved her because of it. And having to look back, and you never know what are the benefits that are coming to you sometimes that you purposely try to keep away from you, and not realizing it's going to be a benefit somewhere. So almost having that moment between them of saying, I'm glad this went the way it did, and I'm glad that he brought us together.
Well said. Well said. I think from my first one, I just thought about 3 since we've been talking. I want to talk about Vel's advice to Cassian about finding Bix. What do you make of his reactions to her suggestions? And also, she follows up by urging him, don't wait too long. But what are both your reactions to his response to that?
I mean, my first reaction was a little bit gut-wrenching, I guess, because we already have seen Rogue One. That's how Lucasfilm has chosen to release these pieces of the story, and so we know that doesn't happen. But yet it was still very intriguing. It was still very much was a reminder of sort of the deep down part of the humanity of Cassian Andor. That's on full display, I think, throughout the series, but it really gets down into he's not just a rebel freedom fighter. He's a man who loves deeply and has a family that he wishes he could be with, but recognizes that if he's with his family, the Empire is going to come crashing down at some point, and he's going to have to go through all of this anyway.
Yeah, and it's one of those where she knows a little bit more than he does, So I don't think he's aware that there's a child in the picture. So it is one of those
good point
things where he has gone full focus, and I think that was his protection mechanism to himself when Bix left. Was like, oh, I have to turn to this now. And we started to see that transformation last episode during the card game, where it's just like, hey, he's with the guys. He's doing this. He's part of this machine instead. Mm-hmm. And he lost a little bit of himself. I think losing Luthen, as we've talked about here, reminds him of that a little bit. And it is, I'm doing this for Luthen. And you know what? It'd be nice at some point to go check in on Bix. But I've got some things I need to focus on first. And as you said, Father Jimmy, it is, but we know what path he's already following here.
And I think Cassian is kind of like a well-used knife. And every time he goes through something, he gets sharper and sharper and more focused. And I think that was part of Bix's initial decision to leave him. Plus, I'm sure she probably knew she was pregnant and knew that would be safer for a child, obviously. But I feel like when Luthen is gone, like the way Cassian handles that confrontation in that conference room is not the same as Cassian would handle it a couple of years before. No way. He even is, I won't say subservient, but he's willing to say his piece just as easily and readily as he is to acquiesce and let them decide and let sort of their own democracy play out. He doesn't necessarily seem happy about it, but he doesn't let it eat at him. And that was what he did all of season 1 and the majority of the first half of season 2. So that is a really neat way to show growth without saying something like, "Oh, you've grown, you've changed." It allows the audience to come up with those decisions, and I think that's pretty neat. Pretty neat.
Yeah, but he also defends Luthen in his moment and reminds everyone
we wouldn't be.
No one is here without Luthen.
That's right.
Did you know him? Did you know him? Yeah, the last time I talked to him is when he sent me to save Mon Mothma.
And that in that moment, you can see her like, okay, yep, completely. Father Jimmy, what's the next thing you'd like to bring up?
Yeah, I think it happened shortly after this point when we hear the recording of Nemik's manifesto, and
good.
The producers did a really good job. They got me. At first, I was worried that they were going to do another montage with the heroes over the Nemik manifesto, and I was trying to remember. I was like, I think we got that already. And then they switched, and it was the ISB agent listening to it, and I was like, oh man, that was good.
And why do you think that was good? What'd you like about that?
Well, one, I liked that I started to go one way, but they delivered a better way. Even though I was assuming this was going to be I was assuming this was honestly going to be what played over top the montage that we get shortly after this. But it went to show the impact of the rebellion. It went to show that this is really seeping in, and what he's saying about the Empire clenching their fists and the rebellion slipping through. It's apparent in that moment that comes up. I forgot that agent's name, but he
Partagas.
Yes, Partagas, and
ISB.
He's listening to it and he understands he's done exactly what this manifesto is saying, and he knows his fate that's to come.
And he ends up killing himself, probably to avoid being killed by the Emperor or another Imperial agent. He's given up. He sees he can't win.
Yeah,
and it becomes a bit of a tragedy for him, as also it is for Jedha. You guys, seeing her in that prison, we know what that prison's like very, very well. And I don't know about you, but I couldn't help, despite all the things, I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. And we see her break down completely helpless. And it impacts you more than I expected it would.
Yeah, and that's some of where my word for the episode came as well, because I mean, you typically don't want to wish something terrible on your worst enemy, or at least the most terrible thing on your worst enemy. She's been that worst enemy to so many people.
Yep.
But it's like, oh, wow. It is poetic justice that she is in there. But it's also vile.
Yeah, it is.
From a human standpoint, and that's just talking about being better people.
And there's no justice for anyone. No justice for anyone in this.
But yeah, seeing as soon as that shot came on, and then it was the close up, and then they came back to the wider shot, seeing the bunk when the lights go out, and I'm hearing Andy Serkis's voice as Kino Loy in the background saying, that it's coming on. You'd better go to bed.
Nighty night.
Yeah. So it is, again, just another beautiful moment. And then with the manifesto, and Father Jimmy, you talked about this, and Dan, Party Guys, like seeing him break down and knowing that he has lost. He has one of the words at the end that is spoken when he's really starting to break down is, tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks, it leaks, authority is brittle. And he is all of those things in that moment as Nemec is narrating that.
And don't you pick up that immense exhaustion? Like, even the way he's carrying his frame in that very powerful scene in the sterile environment, where he's matching, his clothing is matching the environment, and his identity is that of, like everyone in the Empire, someone who doesn't have an identity because they're forced to carry out the Emperor's plan. It's pretty smart. The whole thing, of course. Ross, what else would you like to bring up to our little coffee table here?
I think we go to the slow walk.
Yeah, let's talk about the slow walk. Go ahead.
That's kind of leading, and that, I mean, we get a little bit of that, or we touched on it a little bit, because that's where Daedra's devastated. But we're getting that moment of we don't know if Andor understands what he's getting into. He's just doing another thing probably to him, but we know what's happening because he's going to see Tivik on Kafrene. And we get the Peekins. We've talked about Dedra. We get Perrin. We get Clea in the hospital bed. We get that Force healer who, that's where it really starts wrenching, because the look she gives him is just like, oh, he might be done.
Oh, really? I took it as, yes, he is important. And there was like a self-assurance there. Plus, did you see when she spikes the phone and says, "I told you"?
Right. No,
it must have been a special cut you got, Dan, as a
special.
Yes. That's a bonus. When I saw her, and especially like I've watched it twice in the past 48 hours, and I really made sure I paid attention the most recent time. She has some anguish on her face, and that may have been the part where the conflict really hit me, because she thinks the world of him and knows that he's special and has an important part to play. but I think she knows it's coming to its culmination. She has a look of concern as well as admiration in my mind while that's happening.
His cup of suffering is coming from Gethsemane in the form of the Empire.
Yes.
Right.
Oh,
How about that, Father Jimmy?
That was awesome. Yeah. But no, Ross, I agree. I think she gets it. She gets a little bit of what's about to happen. And most of the other characters, I don't think feel that weight. I noticed in the beginning of it, Cassian he's watering his plants in his house, and you don't do that if you're not coming back,
Right.
And watering your own plants before letting someone else do it means that you think you're coming back soon. But so to me, he thinks, yes, it's an important mission, but it's just another one in the series and not sort of this great final one. And you got the sense too that, Mon and Vel as well are kind of reunited. They're sitting next to each other, which is a much more kind of, to me, a very friendly atmosphere for them. And it was, and so I think they don't quite feel the weight that they've kind of concluded what they had just accomplished. But the Force Healer, having her in there, I think really helped to remind everyone the weight of what's about to happen, what we're about to get in the next film.
It's so interesting because I don't see it that way. It doesn't mean I'm right, but that's the beauty of this.
It doesn't mean we're right.
Interpretations. You know what I mean? Because I don't think she's that connected. I think she's a Force healer and she has high Force sensitivity, but not everybody who is strong in the Force, and she's not as strong in the Force as a Jedi or a Sith, not everyone can see the future, or it's clouded. I think she knew he was important. He's clearly walking with an air of importance to him. And it sort of reaffirms her notion that there is something about this person that is important for the galaxy. And obviously that is true. But I'm glad you brought up that long walk. I'm assuming you loved it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's chill-inducing. That is... Wait, this is just a science fiction show. I should not feel like I'm going to tear up because I know what's coming. But it hits all the right notes, and with the theme song playing,
that was cool.
It's just a powerful moment, and getting, then we get the shot of Saw on Jedha looking out at everything, knowing what's about to happen there within the next 48 hours, 72 hours.
Yeah, I would say.
And then just getting that beautiful shot of the entire Yavin base being active and X-Wings coming in. And it's just, we got teased with that during the original movies. And now we're getting to live it a little bit more even. And every moment of Yavin 4 is a special moment. And then Krennic watching the Death Star being built
without the dish, because that happens in Rogue One, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
But we know what the next shot of that is, like you just said.
Father Jimmy, what did you think of the walk at the end?
I agree. I thought it was a good way to wrap up a lot of the storylines that we have been following, and also set us up for what's to come in the future, and little snippets, little reminders of what we've been through as an audience and what these characters have been through to get us to this point. One thing that I did find interesting that I'd like to hear both of your thoughts on is that the last line that launches into that slow walk is when Bail Organa says, "May the Force be with you." And this has not been a very Force-centric series.
No.
But that is in the most iconic Star Wars line ever. And it's what launches us into that. And for me, it was good because it helped roll this story even deeper into the Star Wars lore and mythos. It already was, but this sort of helped pull us back and remind us of the rest of the greater Star Wars universe. But I wanted to hear what you guys thought about that line being what launches this slow walk montage.
So two things. One, when he said that, I appreciated it, but it felt forced, and I felt like Bail seemed a little disconnected. And I don't know if that was just a bad cut and they didn't do another take, which seems unlikely. They're way smarter than I am when it comes to that. Or was there like still that tension with Cassian? Because K2 even says the man is here that you don't like.
Yeah.
So did either of you? Because I want to say something about that walk too. But did you either of you feel like that was sort of strained, or like the delivery was like you could tell there was something not quite full about that?
So what?
Like when Han says it in A New Hope, "The Force be with you." Like he doesn't quite believe what he's saying, but he says it anyway.
So kind of how I looked at it, and again, we haven't had much of that. This hasn't been lightsabers. This hasn't been the light side versus the dark side, how we know it through the mythology of Star Wars that you're such an expert on, Dan. But what jumped out at me here, and it is the final words that we get from Nemec that's read in this: oppression is the mask of fear.
Love that line.
One of the most recent books that came out is The Mask of Fear. And in that book, throughout it, like one of the main things that Bail Organa is focused on is clearing the name of the Jedi. And he is going to carry that torch forward regardless, because he knows something went wrong with it. So in my mind, and maybe I'm trying to see this, I see it as his olive branch of welcome to you shared your view of this and what Luthen brought to you with it. Mine came from the Jedi. So may the Force be with you as you continue your journey. So that's how I read it, but that is tying into the book. That is lots of different elements coming in. That is cheating beyond just watching.
That's not cheating. I think that's a beautiful, cogent, lovely way to interpret it. And I love that. I think that's great. I like that. I want to talk about the walk. I've watched it a couple times, not just the walk, but to the episode. And it falls flat for me. I think sort of like when Mothma gave her speech, it reminds me of the Ralph Bakshi animated movie of The Hobbit.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's crazy, but I love it. And there's a part where Bilbo finds the ring of power, and he's holding it up, and he says something. Yes, your words ring true, Bilbo. That ring certainly has a ring of truth to it. And I just thought, that is so Captain Obvious. It's like I had a professor in college who used to say, that's so obvious that it's insulting. It's like someone takes a wet trout out of the stream and slaps you in the face. This is the wet trout moment for me, because it's like, and even like he is peacocking. He's not walking with purpose. He's like,
Yeah, there's a little Travolta to it.
Big time. And maybe that's how he walks in Rogue One. Fine. I get that. And he has a renewed purpose, but he is so purposed and focused. I don't think he needed to be, I felt like with Mothma's speech, it was like the creators, for all their genius, saying, oh, this is important. We're really going to focus on that. Don't you know this is important? Wink, wink, push, push. Let me slap you with the wet trout. And it just it fell flat for me. And I guess this is the problem with the genius of Andor, knowing it's the last episode of the series. I keep thinking, this is going to lead it right up into Rogue One. Oh my gosh. Nothing can live up to the hype in your brain. And that's my fault. That being said, I don't know, something about that. It was a little too melodramatic, and I think it kind of took away from it, at least for me.
Okay. Yeah. And I can absolutely appreciate that and see it, especially with some of the shot of making him bigger than Yavin. Like that was how they transpose shots at times.
Mm-hmm. And the season wasn't like that. In fact, some of them, he wasn't even a part of it.
But I also think that, and I think why I enjoyed it, it was almost him taking, this episode was about him taking the baton from Luthen.
For sure.
And he elevated to that next level. And maybe his walk was as you mentioned, I'm thinking, yeah, it was a little out there, but it was going by Wilmon and his girlfriend. It was going by these individuals who are just in the regular course of their day, and he's heading to his end, even though he doesn't know it yet. We know, and I think that's the storytelling component that's coming through from it. I am not discounting what you said by any stretch. It does. I see that so much. I think fanboying, I just buy it.
No, I like it.
Hey,
I like it. And I appreciate your, this is why I love Coffee with Kenobi so much, because even when we have different perspectives or opinions, we still make those bridges. And I think that's the beauty of this conversation. So thank you both for that.
Paying attention. We see it different.
And it's right. It's super cool. I love your perspective. Father Jimmy, anything you want to add, or should we move on to something else? I really, there's only one big thing I want to talk about still, but if you want to weigh in on the Travolta.
He didn't have a paint can, so that was disturbing.
That's true. And there was no disco music, although that would have been rad.
That would have been pretty cool. I'm glad they chose the music they did for this montage.
Me too.
And not the disco.
Without that music, I think that music helps a lot.
Yeah. I liked it. I thought it was good. Dan, I understand your points on it, but I don't know how else they really wrap it up. I feel
I agree.
Something would have been missing if they didn't go that route, especially because
I would have liked to have seen a little angst, because clearly at the beginning of Rogue One, he is full of angst. He is a mess. He's anxious. He doesn't seem anxious in this.
Yeah, no, that is a very good point with the two. And getting to Kafrene, I don't know, maybe K2 spilled his calf on him on the ride over, and that just sets him off.
He would be a little jarring to travel with.
Yes.
The only thing I want to talk about, and I want to hear what you both, any last minute thoughts either of you have as well, is the conversation where he's trying to persuade them about Luthen's news in the conference room. And Bail, I don't know that I've ever seen Bail Organa as such a poop face. He's really determined to not believe him. He knows Cassian came storming in, which Cassian is very apologetic for. He's not defensive. He just wants to help Clea, who seems very lost. And I think it's because the ramifications of killing her father figure and just feeling like she suddenly has no purpose anymore. So she's forced to live in her trauma without hiding through action, is quite notable. But Bail was so frustrating here, and I don't understand his purpose other than Luthen. I couldn't necessarily. He made me nervous. He made me uncomfortable, and it isn't until Cassian reminds him that because of Luthen, Mon Mothma was saved, who was an essential part of this entire operation. But it was frustrating to me, and that's probably just the politics and why I don't like politics in the real world or in the fictional world, because even when it seems so obvious, people just have to argue, and maybe that's just a piece of realism that I have a hard time seeing, whether it's in fiction or reality.
Well, and I think he's had, from the political side of things, he's had to wear his own mask in the Senate.
Oh, yeah.
Things moving and to exist within that group. I think because it was frustrating to me as well, and the other two senators who help stop when Jyn is making her pleas to attack Scarif. It's the same ones that are just like, oh, we don't know that. That's not a fact. Like, we can't act on that. They don't want to do anything.
They don't want to jeopardize what's been so hard to put together, but the point is it's together because of Luthen.
Right. And it's there, but then I think the payoff for that and what helps turn him around into sending Cassian is first recognized when he says noted, when he says Luthen sent me to send her, but then when everyone's walking out, Mon says to him, this is harder than the Senate, or this is harder than politics, whatever, I'm paraphrasing, but she's like, this is harder than politics.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that rung true to him of, oh, I'm not in the Senate chamber anymore. I don't need to play those games the same way.
Right. I like that.
I liked this scene partially because to me it brought me back to reality. I felt like it was very grounding into what the rest of the rebellion is experiencing. Like when they were kind of rehashing what they know about what's been brought to them, I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty flimsy. Like they don't actually have that much to stand on. Whereas we as the audience, we've seen the Death Star, in that kind of add-on shot at the end of the first season where we see it coming together and what's happening and we know it's going to happen. And so we as an audience are very aware of what's going on and how right Luthen is and how right they are to really go after this thread. But when it's actually presented, there's a sense of there's not actually that much there. In the reality of things, there's not actually too much to go on. And it was that sort of sense of I was like, oh yeah, that there's not really much there. I know a lot more than these characters do, but the characters don't actually they haven't seen the movies like I have.
Right. Fascinating. Well, gentlemen, anything you want to bring up, or are you ready for letter grades?
I guess one, it's just a little thought. I was very glad that the shot with Bix at the very end was before the credits and not a post-credit scene.
Me too.
I think sometimes the post-credit scenes, they can be fun and they can be interesting, but I thought that one had a lot more weight to it. And I almost feel like by putting it as a post-credit scene, then you develop all these speculations about, well, what's going to happen? Is their child going to be some character in the future? But by having it before the credits, it ended on a very hopeful note. And yes, we already knew that Cassian's sacrifice at the end of Rogue One wasn't in vain, but now it's even more not so. Now it has an even deeper redeeming quality behind it.
Do either of you think that Cassian knows he has a child? And that's why he's so like, I don't know. But that's total fan speculation. I don't know that we have enough information. I don't think he does.
I don't think he does either.
Yeah.
But I did love, even just before that, like that's beautiful and took it to a whole nother level. But what really filled me with joy in just that moment of there are good things happening even during bad times. Was B2 Emo playing with that other droid. And you talk about like the most stressed out, sad droid of all time. And now he's playing chase with another droid. And
that looks to be like his...
let's play, let's go again.
Yeah. Or one more time or something. Yeah.
That just lighted me up. Like I was just like that makes me happy. And then that turned into Bix and the baby. And it just like, yeah, here is the moment of hope from out of the chaos and out of all the other elements.
It was really beautiful. And to see life, to quote a Steven Spielberg film, life finds a way. And she's in this beautiful field and they paint on her for a long time. She's beautiful. She's happy. She's holding her child. She seems completely relaxed and at peace. And at that moment, you hope the Empire will leave them alone. But you just get the sense that they're going to be okay. And I think it's comforting to us that the legacy and strength of Cassian and his mother are going to live on. And for the record, I don't need a comic book or anything about that little kid. Let that kid just be a normal kid. Yeah. Every story isn't a story. I think it was pretty lovely the way they did it there.
Agreed.
Yeah, agree.
All right, well, it is time for our last grade for Andor Season 2. And we can give a letter grade for the season overall, but I mean, it's pretty obvious what we're going to say. But Ross, we'll start with you. Letter grade for Jedha, Kyber, Erso, and final thoughts.
Yeah, I think it just pulled everything together. An unapologetic A+. Rogue One is my favorite film for a reason. And then these two seasons in this series fit perfectly. It is everything I wanted and more, and got into character development, introduced more people, made more people care. I got a non-Star Wars fan who is a professor at Butler through other discussions we were having, and I was just like, have you watched Andor? He's like, no, my husband watched. He says it's good. I was just like, you really need to watch it.
That's cool.
And within 2.5 weeks, she's like, I'm starting this episode. I'll be done by like Wednesday. And sent me an article because she started researching it afterwards, and was just like, I was blown away. So that means everything to me when art can do that, and entertainment can be infotainment and educate people as well, and allow someone who may not think in a science fiction form or fashion that this is a great way to communicate. It's special. So Gilroy, Luna, O'Reilly, everyone involved with this Skarsgård, thank you so much. What an awesome ride.
Beautiful. I couldn't have said it any better myself.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is...
Which is why I'm going to have Father Jimmy go next, so I don't have to. Father Jimmy, your letter grade for the episode, the season, and final thoughts.
Yeah, my letter grade for this episode is an A, a solid A. I don't think I'd be a good teacher because I would kind of grade off of what else has come out. But this was a solid A. It ended things well, but I just felt throughout the series, of only a few episodes, I really want to give an A+ to, and so I thought the final episode in Kina 5 was A+. The final episode in season 1, A+. The Gorman Massacre episodes, I thought those were A+, and so that's sort of my A+ level, and this is as shy of that as you can get, but not quite there.
I get you. I like that. You've been consistent with your rubric. That's good.
Thank you.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I want to give it an A+ purely because one of the important things to me about a story that's within a larger story is that it wraps up every plot point. And you can dangle some things for fun that move the story forward in ways that we don't get to experience, like their child. But everybody's arc was wrapped up, not only in this episode, but throughout the entire season. And in spite of my uncertainty about the little walk at the end, what else can you do? You're setting up for Rogue One. It's beautifully done. It's a masterpiece. The entire season, the entire series is an A+. I still think that season 2 is far superior to season 1, for whatever that's worth. But this is must-see television, whether you are or aren't a Star Wars fan. And I think as it goes on, it will continue to age beautifully, just like all of us. And I'm just so excited and proud to live in a time when I get to experience something like Andor with the two of you and everyone who's joined us on Coffee with Kenobi, whether you've listened, commented online on Facebook or social media, or been a guest on a previous show. It's really been a pleasure and a delight, gentlemen. Father Jimmy, again, thank you so much for being back on Coffee with Kenobi. I'll be bothering you incessantly to come back in the future, but again, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to learn from you and chat with you about Andor.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure. This has been a great 2 weeks in a row to talk about such a great series, and I always get so much out of talking with you about this kind of stuff and other things, Dan and Ross. It was great to finally be on a show with you and talk things out. As it came out a little bit last episode, I'm always like, that guy's also from Baltimore. We got this, And so this has been great. It's been a blast. I very much appreciate being on, and and talking about Star Wars and just digging into it.
And Ross, again, as you know, I just think the world of you, and I'm just so happy to share the microphone with you. Any chance I get, whether it's on this show, other shows, I always like to learn and listen and laugh with you as well. Please let us know what's going on with you and where people can reach out and say hello.
Yeah, so for Star Wars style, go to @PopStarIndie on Instagram. Maybe not fully as active currently, but I'm still around. But finding work on Fantha Tracks, that team there, based out of the UK, is fantastic. Was on a recent episode of Rebel Base Card with Greg McLaughlin and Greg Cass, as they start their rewatch of Andor Season 2. So I just talked episode 1 2 nights ago.
Oh my gosh.
So it is all of a sudden it went from 0 to 60 really quick, and it's so hard not to get excited about having an excuse to go back and watch. Oh, I can watch this a couple more times again. So that's awesome. And I think more often than not, you're going to find me in front of a television watching football now that we are 1 week and 1 night away from, or actually, 1 night next Thursday.
Bear down, baby.
There we go. So good luck to everyone's teams. Let's have the stars stay healthy, the refs stay out of the way, and lots of excitement from week to week.
And just like that, our journey through the galaxy for today has come to a close. A huge thank you to Father Jimmy and Ross for joining me this week and last week, of course, to talk about and celebrate the ending of Andor. What a special series, what a special season. And I can't wait to see what is next from the world of Lucasfilm and Disney. And I want to thank you for listening to and supporting Coffee with Kenobi, where fans come together to think, learn, and discuss the galaxy we all love. I'm truly grateful you chose to spend part of your day with me. A special thank you to our official travel partner, MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel. Looking to plan your next magical vacation to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or even a Disney cruise? Want to explore Galaxy's Edge or attend Star Wars Celebration? Becky Menken and her team will get you there with a no-cost, no-obligation quote and the kind of peace of mind we all appreciate. Learn more at coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with your fellow Star Wars friends. You can find us on social media or visit coffeewithkenobi.com for articles, merchandise, and more ways to connect. Until next time, I'm Dan Zare, and this is the podcast you're looking for. For all things Star Wars, news, reviews, videos, and more, head to our home base, coffeewithkenobi.com. Don't forget to join the CWK Cafe on Facebook at coffeewithkenobi.com/community, our family-friendly, spoiler-free group for all your Star Wars thoughts, comments, and conversation. This podcast is possible thanks to the incredible support of the CWK Alliance. Want to help keep the show brewing? For as little as $1 a month, you can join the CWK Alliance and get access to CWK Pour-Over, our exclusive weekly audio and video podcast. Learn more at coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Alliance. And know this, 10% of your monthly contributions goes directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital. Want to connect? You can email me at danz@coffeewithkenobi.com. Follow me on X at Mr. Zare, MRZEHR, Instagram, Threads, at DanZareCWK, and Blue Sky. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can follow Coffee with Kenobi across social media on X, Instagram, Threads, Pinterest, and Blue Sky, and give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi. And if you want to send an email to the show, you can email us feedback at coffeewithkenobi.com. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you'll find over 700 videos, including past live shows, events, and this podcast. Please take a moment to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It really helps more Star Wars fans find our little corner of the galaxy. Do you need a speaker for your next event? Visit danzmedia.com. I love to discuss mythology, leadership, storytelling, or create something tailored to your audience. And finally, grab your CWK gear at coffeewithkenobi.com/shop and show your support in style.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along.